Hey guys, slightly different video from what I usually do recently, but I've been asked to do this, so I thought I would share some information. It's mainly about a question about what is an appointee in the United Kingdom, and also what is a legal deputy and the differences between them. So, okay, fire some questions and I'll answer them. So excuse me looking down at my notes. So what is an appointee, what is a legal deputy, and what's the difference? Okay, so an appointee is basically something that's just between kind of you and the DWP. Why the DWP? DWP pay out benefits. So if you've got somebody who's elderly, they're most likely in receipt of state pension and or pension credit. So you might have an elderly relative, he's struggling to go to the bank, he's struggling to get his money out, he's kind of not paying the bills, you want to help him out. So you become an appointee with the DWP, they will pay that person's future benefits to you as the appointee, and then you will have the money to be able to pay the bills and things like that and help that person out. So an appointee is kind of something just between you and the DWP to get future benefits, and I'll go into that more later on. What is a legal deputy? That can work hand in hand with being an appointee. If you can become the appointee and legal deputy, then you've got quite a lot of power. But a legal deputy is basically an application to the court protection to become somebody's legal deputy because of either safeguarding, i.e. you're concerned about the money, and or lack of capacity. What's the difference? An appointee, like I said, is something just between you and the DWP for future benefits. A legal deputy is more varied. So once you become somebody's legal deputy, you can basically have access to bank accounts and private pensions, assets, which I'll go into more later on. Okay, how do I know this and what's my background? I work for the City Council. Our department is corporate appointee and legal deputy for over 700 clients. I've got 65 clients. Okay, how do I become an appointee? So get the legal deputy out of your mind for a second. How do I become an appointee? Right, to become an appointee is basically submitting a BF56 application to the DWP, Department of Work and Pensions. You submit the BF56, which is basically stuff like your name, your address, their name, their address, as I want to say the person you want to be the appointee for, their national insurance number, and the bank account you now wish any payments to go to. You submit that BF56, the DWP will allocate a visiting officer who may or may not, but most likely will, visit the person in question to confirm they need an appointee really. The DWP have the final say on who is and can be an appointee. If they agree, they will then give you something called a BF57 document. So you submit a 56, you get back a 57 to confirm you're the appointee. Okay, what you can and can't do as an appointee. Okay, so once you're an appointee, you can have future benefit payments paid to you as the appointee. You can't access previous payments. So if there's money in a bank account, you can't access that. Being an appointee is just an agreement between you and the DWP. It doesn't give you legal right to tap bank accounts like Lloyds, TSB, NatWest, HSBC. It's just, you're just an appointee. You don't have legal powers to do that, with exception of the post office. If you've got somebody who's got money in a post office account to which you are now the appointee, you can send them a copy of your BF57 and the post office will act on that. They will close the account, they will transfer all the money to you. just the post office. Any other mainstream bank account, forget about it. So basically, what you can and can't do is you can receive new payments, you know. So you become the appointee, the person's on, say, ESA and PIP. You can then receive the ESA and PIP into your bank account, and to which you can then pay the money. You can't, repeat myself, tap private bank accounts. You need to be the legal deputy for that, which, keep watching. Okay, so that then leads to, well, how do I become a legal deputy? Okay, being a legal deputy, you go through the Court of Protection in London. Don't panic at this stage and think, I've got to attend court. Not necessarily. In fact, most cases, not necessarily. To become a legal deputy, it's just an admin exercise. It's filling in paperwork. You basically submit a COP 1, a COP 1A, and a COP 3. A COP 1 is basically name, address, national insurance numbers, addresses, date of birth, information you're going to know. COP 1A is very similar to a 1, just more information. You might ask for things like, well, does this person have a bank account? And if so, how much is in it? How much benefit do they receive? Just information you should generally know. A COP 3, that's basically a court's capacity assessment. That's where it needs to be done by a social worker or medical professional like a GP, someone with an element of qualification who's qualified to determine capacity for the courts. Or if it's regarding safeguarding, put your concerns down on a COP 3. If anything, just complete a COP 1, COP 1A and a COP 3 and submit it with the current fee, which I think is about £400. But I've heard recently the application fee's been dropped to about £385. So in summary, how to become a legal deputy: COP 1 form, 1A form, COP 3 form, which is capacity assessment, and a £400 fee. Simple as that. If you just Google COP 1 forms, COP 1A forms, for example, you'll be able to see an example of the forms. So you know exactly what you've got to fill in just by looking at the form. You kind of get an idea of what information you need. COP 3 is the one you want to look at first, because that's kind of the tricky one. Okay, do I have to notify family that I want to be the legal deputy? Yes. Right, so when you've made the application, or you're making the application, show you've submitted the court, the COP 1 form, the 1A form and the 3, and you paid the fee. You'll have to put information on those forms about immediate family, so like siblings, brothers, sisters, things like that. And halfway through the court, looking through the information, they will ask you to serve notification to the siblings or the family, the immediate family, and that's done by a COP 5 form and a COP 15. Again, these forms aren't rocket science to fill in, they're just general questions like name and address, date of birth. But yeah, essentially you do have to notify the family of your intention. Now at this point, if they disagree with you being the legal deputy, they can fill in the COP 15 and challenge that. And they can say, no, I don't want this person to be legal deputy because of X, Y, Z, and submit that to the court. Now at that point, it's up to the judge to make a decision saying, okay, you want to be the legal deputy, right, okay, great, that's brilliant. Oh, hang on a second, we've got family member disputing it or whatever. And then the judge might decide then it would need to have a court hearing, in which case you pay extra for that, which I think is about £250 to take it to an actual hearing. But you'd only have a hearing if really they sort of disputed it. If it was just a straightforward application and there was no one going to challenge the application, you just pay the application fee really, and it doesn't really need to go to court. But yeah, in general to this question, do I need to notify family? Yes, you do, and you notify them through the halfway process by a COP 5 and a COP 15 form. Again, download the form off Google and you'll see exactly that type of form and the kind of questions it's asking. It's not a scary process, it just seems daunting at the start. You have to notify the person in question that you're trying to make an application to be the legal deputy. So yes, you do. Again, like the family, you have to serve a COP 5 and a COP 15, and you also have to send some forms back to the court. But essentially, you have to sit down with the person you're trying to be legal deputy for and read out a statement. So, for example, in my work, we would ask a social worker or a care manager to actually sit down with the person, the client, and say, John, I wish to inform you that, Manchester City Council or whatever, Leeds City Council has made an application to be your court-appointed appointed legal deputy for the purposes of managing your finances and affairs. It's just a statement you read out. So you verbally had that conversation to say, I've notified you. Now, if they've lost capacity, they'll probably look at you and go, well, what are you talking about? Which is fine. At least you've read out that statement, you've notified them, and then you fill in a brief form, which is like a COP 28, which is another form to say to the court, yeah, I've notified the person of my intentions to be their legal deputy. Do I have to go to court? Again, not necessarily. In 98% of cases of clients I work with, never gone to court because they're straightforward applications. You pay the application fee, you submit the paperwork, the judge makes a decision. No, I've never had to go to court, but not saying you might have to if somebody disagrees and it's not quite straightforward. I'm talking about pretty straightforward overview here. How will you know once you're the deputy? They'll basically just write to you. The court protection will write to you. You'll get a court order, which will be a white sheet of paper with an embossed kind of court seal in it, stating that a decision has been made that Joe Bloggs is now the legal deputy for, say, Fred Bloggs. It's just basically a court order, a piece of paper establishing that you are now the legal deputy. Right, okay, will it be monitored once you are the legal deputy? Yeah. So you make the application for the court protection. Court protection assign you as the legal deputy, and then they refer it to the Office of Public Guardians. The Office of Public Guardian is the OPG. They're based in Birmingham, and their kind of role is to kind of monitor the current legal deputies. So what tends to happen is ask you for like a reporting period, which tends to be the previous 12 months, and they'll ask you to do a very brief court report on things like any significant decisions that you've made for the person, money you've spent more than £1,000, or in some cases they'll want to know where everything's gone, financially. Generally depending on how much money the person has got. The more money they've got, they kind of want to know like pretty much where everything's gone in terms of expenses, care fees and things like that, or paying rent and stuff like that. Generally, if they don't have so much money, they just want a general reporting. It's nothing to be kind of scared of, really. If you want to know what they're asking, just you want to Google an OPG 103, that's a court report form, and an OPG 106. So if you just Google OPG 103, OPG 106, they're the typical standard kind of court reporting forms that you'll be asked to report on after 12 months. Okay, once you're the court-appointed legal deputy, what powers will you have? Basically, once you've got a court order, you've got quite a lot of power, to be honest. If there's any money in any private bank accounts, you can access them. Banks like the TSB, Lloyds, NatWest, RBS are pretty pretty easy going. It's usually just a form you complete with them, and you send in a copy of the court order. Then any funds in that bank account, they'll happily transfer out to you as the court appointed deputy into any account you nominate. My experience, I found Barclays to be a lot harder. Barclays ask you to attend a branch with your passport, court order and a few other things to verify you. Barclays are a little bit more stricter than the other banks I've personally dealt with. I tend to cringe if I have to deal with anything with Barclays, to be quite honest. But yeah, you've got quite a lot of powers, to be honest. Any private pensions, you can move them over. Basically, you've been really given sort of permission to deal with property and affairs, really, to be honest. So yeah, you do have quite a lot of powers. And last question, can I end my role at any time? Yeah, you can do. If you decide you don't want to be the deputy anymore, you can just talk to the court, talk to the OPG. They'll discuss that with you. Also, if the person dies, when the person dies, your role ends as a deputy. Likewise, a corporate appointee too. Yeah, and that's pretty it, really. I mean, yeah. So I guess, kind of in summary, if you've got somebody you live with, a family friend, and you want to help them out, your first step, I guess, is just try and become the appointee. Once you become the appointee, see how you manage. Because remember, once you're the appointee, you're not accessing money previously held in an account. You can't really access that unless it's a post office. You're only really giving new benefit payments to you. So if that works, great, just go with that. Take it for the first step and see how you cope. If you find actually you need to move private pensions, or you need to access bank accounts, then yeah, think about becoming the legal deputy or power of attorney or something like that. I can't answer questions about the power of attorney because it's not something I've personally done. I basically just become corporate appointee and legal deputy for clients, really.